Chapter 18. New Duds. Possum comes back from that interesting tree. He stands beside me as we watch my father walking away. Pop does not look back. When you've said goodbye, after the first step, you're already gone. Looking back just confuses things. "You okay, Jaybird?" "No," I say. No point in not being honest with him.
"That's all right," Possum says. "None of us are ever okay when we end up here. But you know what the best part is from here on in?"
"It just gets worse?" Possum slaps me on the back.
"You got it,"
he chuckles.
"Now let's get you some new duds."
The campus of the Indian school is so vast. It's as if the place was built to instill a sense of awe in those sent here, make them feel small and powerless. That's what it's done to me. Huge as the school grounds are, though, everything is, as Mom used to say, neat as a pin. Not even a single fallen leaf anywhere on the ground.
"Cleaner than your ma's kitchen counter, ain't it?"
Possum asks. He's noticed me gaping at everything, like some country hick seeing an elephant for the first time. "Yep," I admit.
"Easy enough when you got over 800 slaves to do your bidding."
A humorless chuckle follows his words.
"On grounds duty, you dang well make sure every blade of grass is cut the same height, or there's hell to pay."
We walk past Building 2. Possum jerks his chin toward the two buildings far to our right.
"Girls' dorms over there,"
Possum says.
"Don't get caught too close. That's a hanging offense."
We turn left. Ahead of us, down the gravel road, are the smaller buildings where the superintendent told us carpentry and harness making and the like are taught. There are other boys around. We've passed quite a few as we've been walking. Some alone, some in groups. Some our age, some younger and some older. Though none have actually come up to us, all have raised a hand or spoken a word or two in greeting to my guide. Possum's answered each of them with that grin of his, a wave, an easy reply. "How's it going?"
"Okay."
"Hey, Possum."
"Hey, Deacon."
"Me?" I've said nothing, and none of the boys have asked. "Who's that with you?" It's almost been as if I'm invisible. That's strange. In my past experience, everyone's curious about a new kid. Some want to meet you. Others want to make friends. A few want to feel you out, to see if they can bully you. But not here. Maybe they think I'm not worth knowing. Whatever the reason, I'm sort of grateful for it. I don't want to meet anyone. I don't want to be friendly. All I really want is to not be here. Possum's been easy to be with, but is he really my friend? Am I fooling myself? Maybe he's just putting up with me. This school is his place, not mine. Tomorrow, when the routine here kicks back in, he's not going to have time for me. I'll be on my own. He'll be back with his gang. I'll be on my own, without Pop to guide me and be by my side every day and every night. I'll be alone in a crowd of kids who have nothing in common with me. As we walk along, I notice something. Set back a ways behind those buildings is an ugly, low, flat-roofed stone structure that looks out of place. While the other buildings have had at least a few people around them, this one is totally deserted. It's not just dark in color. It has an air of darkness around it, as if bad things happened there, were meant to happen there. I squint my eyes and study it further as we walk. I've always had eyesight that is keen, like a red-tailed hawk, Pop says. So even at this distance, I can see that the heavy door at its front is padlocked and the place looks abandoned. Set up high on the one side wall that's visible is a window with iron bars. Possum stops again, once more knowing where I'm looking.
"Draws your eyes, don't it?"
It does.
"We don't go there anymore."
No one does. No one goes anywhere near there. That's the old guardhouse. One of the good things old Morrell did was close it down as soon as they promoted him to superintendent. Now they don't lock you up in there when you break one of their 100,000 rules. Something is happening to me as I'm looking at the old guardhouse. It's as if a part of me is leaving my body, passing through that padlocked door. And now, somehow, That's where I am. I'm trapped in here. There's the strong smells of mildew and urine. On one shadowy wall is a plank bed and a wadded-up blanket. I make out in the faint light that the floor beneath my feet is packed dirt. I look up at the barred window. No sunlight is shining through. It's the ghostly beam of light from the full moon that is enabling me to see what's around me.
Jaybird, where are you at?
I shake my head to clear it. Possum is staring at me. I don't know how long I've been in that vision, so I do what I always do whenever I get taken over. I do not let on that anything unusual has happened to me. Then Possum surprises me.
Does that happen often?
He asks. What? I say, maybe a little too quick. Seeing, he says. His tone is matter-of-fact.
Had me an aunt who was hell as high you, a medicine person.
She used to do that.
She'd have that same look on her face when she was seeing something. Hiji. Maybe something in the past. Maybe even seeing something in the future.
Oh, I say. I'm standing still, my mind going a mile a minute because of what Possum just said in such a matter-of-fact way. There's others like me? And there's even a name in Indian for seeing past events through other people's eyes like I do sometimes? And what was that he said about seeing things in the future?
Want to talk about it?
Possum asks. I shake my head. I'm not sure if it makes me feel better or worse that others can have the same kind of experiences I've been having. I haven't even talked about seeing things with anyone, even Pop. And I'm sure as Blazes not ready to start blabbing about it now.
Okay,
Possum says. Then he points again with his chin at the old guardhouse.
Anyhow, like I said, they don't use that no more.
They use the lockup on the porch now, right? Possum nods.
You don't miss much, do you, Jaybird? Good thing about being there, up on the porch, is everyone knows you are there. No one can do anything to you without someone else knowing. They may have you on moldy bread and stale water, but there's no way they can beat you bloody in secret. Morel does not stand for that kind of beating.
That kind? I ask.
Well,
Possum grins.
Some of us boys get real stubborn. So they got to do something now and then to put the fear of the Lord in us, right? You do not want to see our dorm matron when she has got a switch in her hand. She is a true believer in that part of the Bible that says, spare the rod and spoil the child.
I have never been hit even once in my life by Pop. Mom was just the same, firm in what she expected, but gentle with her hands. I keep walking, my eyes on the ground, which is also where my heart is right about now.
Your pa ever hit you?
Possum asks. No.
Mine neither.
His left hand touches the scar on his cheek.
I never got this from him.
Who? I ask. Possum shakes his head.
Far as anyone save me and one other knows, I got this 2 years ago here when I was alone in the barn and fell on the sharp edge of something. The one who did it was sorry once he saw how deep I was cut by his ring. Just meant to slap me 'cause I'd sassed him. Got me right to the infirmary. That would make no never mind to my pa. If my pa ever found out it was no accident, there would truly be hell to pay. He'd come here with his gun and end up hanging for manslaughter. So you forget I ever said anything. Promise?
Promise, I agree. Then, seeing how serious the look is on Possum's face, I add, my word as a knight of the road. Possum shakes his head.
No point dwelling on the past. Can't get back water once it's under the bridge, right?
He doesn't wait for me to nod my head. That familiar grin has returned to his face like the sun coming out from behind a bank of clouds.
All right, he says. Now let's get hustling. Get your government issue from the tailor shop and your bull hides at the harness shop. If you're in luck, you might get something halfway close to your size.
The tailor shop is neat as a pin inside. There's a small assortment of clothes on the first table as we walk in the door, and a box off to the side. Behind that table is a serious-looking, stocky boy. He's shorter than either of us, but twice as broad. If I had to guess at his age, I would say he was a year older than me. His dark face is as impassive and round as the moon. His brows are so thick they look like big caterpillars. He raises both of them as we approach that table.
"Possum," he says.
"Skinny," Possum replies. He looks over his shoulder, taking a quick glance toward the door. No one else anywhere close.
"Mudo, brother," he says in a low voice.
"Mudo," Skinny replies just as soft, his face impassive. Possum grins.
"Skinny here may have a redneck drawl, him being from Mississippi, but he is just as Creek as you and me, Jaybird. Brought us 3 new songs we had never heard before when he first came here 2 years ago. At our stomp dances, he takes the lead from Deacon now and then."
"Stomp dances? What are those?" Possum nods his head toward the clothes spread out on the table.
"Looks like you dug out all the fancy duds."
A hint of a smile has come to Skinny's face. He reaches out one hand, his fingers fat as sausages, to pick up a pair of overalls. "Sized him up from a distance," Skinny says, his voice a slow drawl. "I guessed these here might fit." Possum turns to me.
"You're in luck, Jaybird,"
he says.
"When they give you your outfit at the start of the school year, there's 100 in line. They just toss you whatever's closest to hand whilst they herd you through. Sometimes you get overalls so short in the leg, they look like knee breeches. But Skinny here has a fine eye for a man's size."
The overalls are followed by cotton underwear, 2 pairs of wool socks, 2 shirts, a denim jacket. "Work clothes," Skinny says. "Won't need the coat much now. Come winter when you are out afield and a blue norther is a-blowing, you'll be grateful you have got it." I nod, even though I'm thinking that next winter I'll be far from here with Pop on our new farm. Possum reaches up to slip my pack from my shoulder.
"Strip your old duds off," he says. "Toss them into the rag barrel there."
He turns his back.
"Skinny and me won't look."
I slip off my shoes and socks, throwing my old things into the barrel as I do so. I'm not embarrassed about taking my clothes off with others around. I've had to do it often enough when Pop and I were soaked by the rain and once the downpour stopped, stand naked in front of a fire. But I'm going to miss my old clothes. The shirt and pants are worn so soft they're like a second skin, despite the many places they were sewed back together and patched. The cotton underwear is scratchy. The new overalls and shirt are stiff. But I have to admit, they're in way better shape than what I was wearing. The first new clothes I've had in over a year. Some tramps manage to dress fine by stealing off of clotheslines, but such behavior is below true knights of the road such as Pop and me.
"You decent or still naked as a jaybird,"
Possum says, chuckling at his joke. He turns around before I can answer him. Skinny nods his head. "Y'all show some improvement," he says. He adjusts my shirt, tightens the shoulder straps of my overalls. "All set for picking rocks in the fields, or maybe a swamping out the horse stables." He looks at my face as he says those last few words, likely to see if it changes any due to his mention of hard chores. But stoop labor has never bothered me. I just look back and nod. He grabs one of my hands and turns it palm up. He feels the calluses there with a meaty finger twice the size of any of my own. "Done some work, y'all?" He slaps his wide hands against my shoulders. He says. "Pretty sound. Might make a good tackle if he gets another year and some more weight on those bones."
"Skinny here," Possum says, "is the center on the school football team. Next season's co-captain. Last year we went 7-3.
Skinny smiles for the first time, showing a set of teeth as wide and white as marble tombstones. Yep," he says. "Would have won the Haskell game if in the referees had not been a paid off." He turns toward me. "Come by the field next fall lifting you put on another 20 pounds. He holds out his hand and we shake. But he doesn't leave it at that. As he releases my hand, he slides his arm forward to grasp my forearm just short of the elbow. Without much of a pause, I grasp his forearm that same way, squeeze it once as he does mine. Skinny then opens his hand, slides it back, slaps my open palm, and then grasps my hand with our thumbs linked,
our fingers on the back of each other's hands. It's a series of moves easy to follow, so I have no trouble doing it. "All right," Possum says. I'm not sure why Possum looks so impressed, but I nod my head. Skinny lets go of my hand, ducks down below the table, and comes up with another pile of clothes, all neatly folded. They're a far cry from the everyday work duds I have just donned. I recognize that they are parts of uniforms I've seen on hobos such as Pop, who are vets. "Government surplus," Skinny drawls. "Everything from the high collar to the wrapped leggings. Keep 'em clean and neat, Jaybird. Wear only to drill." He looks down at my feet. Though I have on one pair of my new socks, I slip my old shoes over them. "Shoe and harness shop next," he says. The shoe and harness shop is 100 feet from the tailor shop. We can get there in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, but Possum stops me halfway. "Here," he says, holding out his hand. Then he does with me that entire routine of arm grab, slap, and interlinked thumbs I went through with Skinny. When we're finished, he raises an eyebrow. "Done that before?" he asks. "Yep," I say. Possum slaps his leg. "I thought so. Who taught you? Your pa?" I shake my head. "Who then?" "Skinny," I say. 5 minutes ago." Then I laugh at the expression on his face. "Dang," Possum says. "You got a sense of humor after all, Jaybird. You really learned that fast?" "You could say that," I reply. Possum shakes his head. "I surely could. Most folks like you just as soon as they meet you, don't they?" Not really, I think. But then again, though I've never thought about it before, it seems as if Possum might have a point. I try to keep to myself, being quiet and all, but some of the people I meet do act right friendly. "Well, I guess you could say that," I reply. Possum's grin actually gets wider. "You know what that was?" he asks. "That handshake I just gave you?" "Nope." "The Chalagi Creek handshake," Possum says. "Made up right here at this very school. Only done one creek to another. When somebody like Skinny does that with you, Jaybird, it means you're accepted in as one of us." That's good, I suppose, being accepted and all. But how long will it last when folks find out who I really am? Which is what? An Indian passing for white? A white boy who now has to be an Indian? It makes my head hurt. Possum pokes me in the ribs. "Turn around," he says. I plant my left foot, put weight on my trailing leg, and pivot into a fast about face. I've already sensed the presence of people coming up behind us. 6 boys, arranged in a V formation like a flock of geese in flight. They're all wearing sweaters. All but one of those sweaters are gray. Only one is red. It's on the biggest boy at the head of their formation, the head goose. His face looks like it was carved of stone. He set his course straight toward me. Possum starts to say something. The red-sweatered head goose raises his right hand to shoulder height, palm forward, then quickly curls it into a fist. Possum shuts his yap. Then the red sweater boy stops dead in front of me. I wait for him to speak a word of greeting. Maybe an Indian, there being no school employees around. But he just stands there as the other boys arrange themselves in a circle around me. I can guess what's coming next. Every school has its own groups that stick together. These boys make up what Possum's called his gang. Head Goose here is the leader, and now I'm about to be tested like newcomers are at any school. I should be nervous, but I have just plumb used up all my nervousness. So I just wait, as does he, looming half a head above me. I keep looking off a little to his right and not saying a thing. "No ganging up or kicking while you're down," Pop said. "They won't fight like white men." More silence. Then someone farts. Not me, nor Possum or the big boy in the red sweater. It's a long-limbed, wide-lipped boy with big ears that stick out from his head. "Little Coon," the head goose snaps, putting a load of seriousness into his voice. "Sorry, Bear Meat," Little Coon drawls. Then he giggles. He's not the only one amused by his unintentional breaking of the serious silence. That long, drawn-out fart of his broke whatever tension the head goose was trying to build. All of the boys gathered around me are trying not to laugh, but not with much success. "Hush up," Bear Meat growls. He turns his attention back to me. "You," he says, his voice purposefully deep. "Me," I reply, my voice so matter-of-fact it surprises me. I wouldn't normally make a joke out of being confronted like this, but I'm not in the mood right now to be buffaloed. I smile at Bear Meat. He shakes his head. "You don't look like much," he snarls. "He," I agree. Possum laughs out loud. The others are holding back smiling, but no one's coming up yet to slap me on the back and welcome me into their gang. "What you got in your pockets?" Bear Meat rumbles. I push one hand into the pockets of my pants so new they crackle like heavy paper. I grasp my few coins, open my palm so he can see them. I halfway expect Bear Meat to command me to give the coins to him. Instead, he shakes his head. "Put that away," he says. "Other pocket." I bring out my jackknife. "Nice knife," he says. "You want to give that to me?" "Nope," I reply. I stand there, my closed knife on my open palm. I brace myself to be pushed or punched, but that does not happen. Bear Meat furrows his brows and looks into my face. "No," he says. "How come?" "Give a man a knife," I say. "You cut off any chance of him being a friend." Bear Meat looks over at Possum, who shrugs and spreads his hands open. Bear Meat grasps his chin with one hand, resting his elbow in the other. "Tell you what," he says. "I'll wrestle you for it." He's bigger than me, and likely just as much stronger. I don't want to lose my jackknife. But what else can I do? I nod. Possum holds out his right hand. I put my knife into it. The other boys have moved back from us. The one called Little Coon is scraping a 20-foot circle around us in the dry red soil with a stick. "Loser's first one to say give or get throwed out the ring," Little Coon says in a slow drawl. Bear Meat drops into a low stance, hands held out in front of his body. Each of his broad mitts is a size bigger than mine. "Dirt Seller," Bear Meat says to the bow-legged boy to Possum's right. "You give the go." "Okie dokie," Dirt Seller replies. He raises his right hand high in the air. Out of the corners of my eyes, I can see that our group got considerably larger while Bear Meat and I were confabulating. All kids, whatever their skin color, seem to sense when a brawl's about to happen. They're drawn to it like flies to molasses. Where there are 9 of us minutes ago, now there's dozens. Unlike a fight in a white schoolyard, though, this crowd is pretty quiet. No one is screaming or yelling for Bear Meat to kill me. Everyone's mostly just watching. Not that they're totally quiet. "Who's he?" I hear someone say. "New kid," another person answers. "Jaybird," Possum corrects him. "Pancake right quick," a fourth boy opines. "Go," Dirt Seller yells, chopping his hand down like an axe splitting wood. I thought I was ready, but Bear Meat moves fast for so big a guy. Before I know it, he's grabbed my arm with one hand and swung his foot to hit my leg and knock me off balance. That kick to my left shin hurts, but I manage to pull free and avoid being thrown out of the circle. My well-worn shoes, not yet traded in for a new pair of bull hides, now has one sole that is loose. As I hop to one side, it catches on the ground and almost trips me. "Nice try," a thin-faced boy who was one of the original 5 says. "You get him next time, Bear." Bear Meat has stepped back, measuring me now that his first attempt to throw me failed. We circle. He's so much bigger than me that my strength's outmatched. Watch what a man does and keep doing. That's what Pop told me. Bear Meat tries to grab hold of me. I duck back. When I do that, he crosses his legs as he circles. That's the 3rd time he's done that. Okay. As his legs cross a 4th time, I dive in. My shoulder hits his knees hard and I wrap my arms around his legs. but he doesn't go down. Hitting him is like tackling a tree stump. I just about dislocate my shoulder, then he drops all his weight right on top of me. Woomph! The air goes out of my lungs. I'm stuck on my belly with him on top, though I am still holding tight to his knees. HD! Someone calls out in a loud whisper. Though I can't breathe and feel 3/4 dead, I recognize it as Possum's voice. Head disciplinarian, someone else says. Bear Meat's weight suddenly lifts off me. What is going on here? A harsh voice demands. Boys are being pushed back in every direction. A white man so big he makes Bear Meat look like a pipsqueak is thrusting his way toward us. The head disciplinarian. Bear Meat reaches a hand down and pulls me up to my feet. Though I feel like I have just been run over by a steamroller, I straighten my back and square my shoulders as the head disciplinarian reaches us. He stares at me. What happened, boy? Somebody knock you down? Point him out. There's no sympathy in his voice. He is just itching to have the excuse to punish someone. No, sir, I whisper, using what little air is left in me. What? The man bellows, leaning so close that the hot air from his lungs washes over my face and about chokes me. I turn my face to the side, inhale a deep breath, then tilt my head back to look up at him. No, sir, I say. Nobody pushed me. I fell, which is pretty much true, though I do omit the part about someone falling on top of me. The HD looks skeptical, so I point to my right foot. My shoe's broken. I reach out and put my hand on Bear Meat's arm. He helped me up. The big man stares around the circle. That is the gospel truth for sure, Little Coon says. Mr. HD, sir? The HD glares at him. Shut your trap, Oliver. He stabs me in the chest with his thumb. You're a disgrace, like your father. As he walks away, I feel as if I should have said something. My pop is not a disgrace. He served in France while you were here bullying little boys. But I didn't, and I am feeling lower than a snake's belly. Someone grabs my shoulder. It's Bear Meat. We are still standing in that circle Little Coon scratched into the red soil. Is he about to try again to throw me? Let him. I don't care. There's no way this day could get worse. But instead of throwing me, he slides that arm around my shoulders. You're all right, Jaybird, he says. The other boys in the gang are coming up, shaking my hand in the creek way. Possum places my jackknife in my palm after he shakes it. I start to hand the knife to Bear Meat. He shakes his head. Nah, he says. Keep your knife. He slaps me on the shoulder. You sit at our table for mess.